This is the Final Word Daily, England-Ireland, the Lord's Test match, Day 3, Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins, with the music in the background of the bollards being disassembled. That means that the Test match is over. The Final Word Daily is brought to you by Westfield London. More extra,
less ordinary.
Here
we go.
Adam, you need to tell me about quite a lengthy day, an unexpectedly lengthy day of Test match cricket, and you've got to do it all in the space of 30 seconds.
All right, Ireland resumed 255 runs behind with Tucker and Tector there. They got out for 44 and 51 respectively. Tector out the ball before reaching 50. That's when the party started. For the 7th wicket, they put on 163. That was Mark Adair, 88, 12 away from what would have been a majestic century, and left stranded at the end, 86 not out, Andy McBrine. They still got to a lead though. They set England 11 to win after being all that 362, a mighty effort. England got there in 4 balls, with 3 boundaries via Zach Crawley. They win the series?
It's not a series. One thing is not a series. I mean,
2's not either, really.
Okay, so we had the argument many times about whether 2 was a series. I think we called it a coincidence in the end. One is
tryst.
An incident, a single incident, an instance.
They did have a trophy though, didn't they? And I mean, this could arguably Hall of Fame. I quite like how Stokes decides who gets to lift the trophy for whatever reason, and he gave it to Josh Tongue, who was kind of doing quite a modest hold, and he goes, sod up in front of the members. He goes, whoa, and thrusts it to the sky at the end. So they do have a trophy they're playing for.
I think they should call it the McCullum Trophy, because why not? One can wear a white outfit, one can wear a black outfit, spy versus spy style.
It's got to be the Ed Joyce Cup, doesn't it?
The Ed Joyce Cup. Or the Owen Morgan.
Owen Morgan's probably, in fairness, Owen Morgan probably has a better claim on that.
He was in the combox. Maybe the Morgan Joyce Cup.
Joyce.
Maybe I mean, JP Morgan is plastered all over the press box. So if there's some kind of Morgan crossover, maybe Captain Morgan Rum can get involved.
We're giving them ideas. Commercial department will invoice you.
Yeah, totally. We will send that through. Now, today was fun, and we were going to do a bit of a dissection of the Irish cricket situation and so on. What we're going to do instead is leave that for the weekly show, which will come out in a couple of days, because we've had not a long conversation, but maybe a half-hour conversation, a reasonable length one, with Warren Dutram, who is the Cricket Ireland CEO and has been for a long time. So that might be the time to get into a bit of the mechanics, because today was actually a feel-good day. And I know people can be patronising and go, oh, look, they took something out of it and all the rest of it. But honestly, I mean, Ireland were absolutely flogged. On the first day, okay, they got bowled out for a not great score. They weren't humiliated, but through that second day, they were smashed around. You could totally have understood them coming out, getting bowled out in 45 minutes this morning and saying, well, let's chuck it in and go home. And instead, they were like, no, we're here. It's a Saturday at Lord's, and we're going to play, and we're going to enjoy it. We're going to make the most of being out there. The fact they made England bat again from where they were was a triumph in itself.
Yeah, we joked, didn't we, that if they can make England not see the FA Cup final, they'd have done well. Well, they nearly achieved that. I think England got back in the sheds for the last half an hour, which was pulsating watching. But yes, the job, if you like, was to show something today. Andy Balbirnie was on radio or telly, one or the other, after play, and said that there's never been any real doubt about their grit in white ball cricket. I mean, they do fight hard. They have to fight hard for everything they get. The challenge they've got structurally, and we'll get into this, as you say, on the weekly show. Today's not really the day for the full deep dive, is that they don't have much to draw down on in terms of experience, but to the extent to which they did have something, it's 2 experienced players in Adair and McBrine, and then 2 younger players, or 2 less experienced players, I suppose, in Tucker and Tector up the top. And they all saw it the same way, an opportunity to bat on a blameless day at Lord's, on a track that was getting flatter, and make the very most of what always feels like a bit of a carnival here at Lord's on a Saturday during a Test match, regardless of whether it's Australia playing or Ireland. Lots of people in and all the rest. And a credit to them for almost ignoring the scoreboard.
So Tector and Tucker, I always like Harry Tector's name because I always think of it as Harry Tractor. I don't know why, but I mean,
each to their own.
It's quite an image, I suppose. Maybe like a children's book or something. Not thinking of anything above the age groups of that, but they started out pretty confidently, pretty comfortably. Like they looked relatively settled pretty quickly. Tucker gets through to 44, looked nice, looked compact, played some good shots. The clip off the pads that he played was a wonderful piece of timing. Tector gets through to his half century and is dismissed the ball after that, and he was furious as well. Like I kind of like that when you see how much like it means to a player walking off. It's not just like, oh, well, I made a 50, happy days, give the crowd a wave. He was swishing the bat like, you know when you annoy a cat and it starts doing its tail like that? That's what he was doing with the bat as he was walking off.
Yeah, I suppose he would know that he's got this high ceiling and he's made international hundreds for them in the one-day team against some really good bowling attacks. He wouldn't have been daunted by what he was facing, clearly, because he was batting so nicely. And he had Tucker for company. Maybe Tucker getting out might have been what hurt his rhythm a little bit, because he didn't sort of dash to 50. His last 10 he was held. So,
and it's one of those horrible dismissals for Tucker, because he plays, I mean, Jack Leach just starts bowling 2 feet outside the leg stump. He plays a sweep shot at one, gloves it back down onto the leg stump. Not great fortune there. I mean, not a great shot either. Should have either left it or middled it, I suppose. And if you make the error, then you can get out in any way. But
Campher's caught round the corner, and he makes 19, I think it was, in the second dig after he put on a halfway decent stand.
Yeah.
But the thing was with
Campher, both innings sort of did enough to be useful, but not enough to be really substantial.
He's caught by Stokes. Now, this was annoying because it meant that Stokes didn't go, did not bowl, did not bat, did not catch. He would have been the first England captain of any test side to have done that in a win, so I'm disappointed on that level. But
it would have been a full thanks for coming.
Completely.
He is still, I think, the only England captain to have not batted or bowled in a test win, but it's not quite as meaty as the full TFC.
Satisfying. Yeah, I actually was on a podcast called Thanks for Coming the other day.
Really?
Very, very nice people. I spoke about a game I played in 2005 in Cirencester.
Okay.
Pretty niche, but pretty good.
A game in which you did not bat or bowl?
No, a game where I bowled pretty well, actually. Okay. Caught magnificently in the gully.
Surely that's country. If you have a podcast called Thanks for Coming, surely it has to be about stories of players who didn't get to play.
Yeah, I know. No, it was a club podcast. Anyway, the way in which Campher gets out is mostly newsworthy because Stokes goes down hard, and you're thinking about his knee. Now he said that he bowled for the first time in 4 weeks today before play, and his knees are okay. And wasn't going to bowl today in the game, but hadn't bowled since returning home. Right, where are we? We're at Lords, aren't we?
Yeah, Lords. This is day 3 of England Ireland, the solitary test match at Lords. Now tell us all about the day's play in 30 seconds.
So Ben Stokes, Stokes goes down on that knee and
proposes.
While he's there.
He's knighted.
While he's there.
Because that's what happens in England. I'll knight anybody.
We were pondering, everyone was pondering, well, what does that mean? Because Ollie Pope is the vice captain. Remember, he was designated the full-time vice captain. I think he probably did at some point, didn't he? He was always performing at those Jubilee concerts and so on. He was a complete fawning royal loon.
I did. I went to a pub trivia night just before I left Melbourne. About I think the day of or the day after that news, and one of the teams was called Wobbleboarding in Hell. Just thought that was a nice touch.
You had to play a game on the way back from the authors fixture I played that afternoon, and the game is you can be hiding anywhere in the world, and those in the car with you, via yes or no questions, have to work out where you're hiding. I was hiding on Rolf Harris's wobbleboard.
Right,
that was the right place to hide.
Okay. See, if I were hiding, I would not answer the questions truthfully. Like you, Pablo Escobar, you're hiding out. The CIA's on the phone, and they're like, "Are you inside or are you outside?"
Just yes or no questions. You would reply.
Are you inside a house? No, he was inside a house.
So Stokes is fine apparently. Well, so he tells Ath after play. He's like, well, yeah, I went down hard on the knee, but it's not going to prohibit me from bowling, and I'll be right for the Ashes. You wouldn't expect Stokes to say anything other than that, right? But
sure.
If he doesn't...
But I've also heard he's going to get cortisone jabs before he bowls, which is not
But let's pretend he isn't available.
Idea.
I haven't really considered this point, but let's say Stokes at some point during the series is in bad enough nick that he wouldn't play. Ollie Pope captaining an Ashes Test match feels like a bit of a reach to me. And this is no reflection on his character or his seniority or whatever. It just doesn't quite work. I reckon they'd have been better served having no vice captain, and in the event they needed a one-off, using Broad or Anderson. Just as a placeholder captain with heaps of experience and wouldn't be sort of overwhelmed by it. I'm not saying Pope
using
would be
both of them. Joint captains,
like the under-12s.
Yeah.
Except they're both...
Or the Brisbane Lions.
except they're both 40.
Yeah.
Well, Anderson will be 41 this year.
Yep.
Anyway, so the
Stokes
Stokes...
only 36, isn't he?
Well, let's move on to the... Yeah, he's a bit younger. Let's move on to the partnership that mattered most. So they got together at 162 for 6, acknowledging that they'd already lost the opening batter. McCullum yesterday retired hurt. So it was the 8 and 9. And they put on more than that, 163 in their partnership. I'll give you some stats, some Zaltzman stats about that as I turn the page. It is the 6th time in Test cricket where the number 8 and the number 9 have both made it above 80 in the same innings.
Okay.
That's pretty rare.
Oh, okay. Was one of those Roger Hardigan with Clem Hill?
Almost certainly. So Hardigan batted number 8, so that would have been and made a ton. And Clem Hill came in at 9 because he was crook, batting in 50-degree heat. This is what story time does to your brain.
That's what story time does for you. The Adelaide Test match of what, 1928 or whatever it was?
It was. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
26, 25.
Yeah, we're back in the first decade of the 1900s, I reckon. Anyway, 1902, maybe, possibly. Anyway.
Oh yeah, Clem Hill. It's got to be early.
Right, so where have we gotten to? It's
Diversion.
Rambling podcast today. Sorry.
This is perfect.
Sorry. But they batted so well. Mark Adair hit 2 dingers to get the party started before lunch. He was striking at like 150. We interviewed Mark before the Test match, and he's a lively type. He's known as Sparky, and he batted in a Sparky way.
Yeah.
And you just felt like it was destiny. I don't know, we weren't sat together today, but I thought he is going to make 100. He made 250s for Essex against Ireland in the warm-up game last week, and I just thought, after being so unlucky with the ball on day one, could have got Crawley out a number of times. His figures looked rubbish. I thought he is going to go away and get on the honours board.
I thought he is going to get close to 100 and not get it because that was just felt like the vibe of the way that he was batting.
Okay.
But yeah, that conversation we had, and you talked about all the runs he made in the warm-up, and he just came out and batted in the same way, really.
A Gurkha-esque it would have been.
Well,
on the honours board for number 9.
Oh, that would have been magnificent had it happened. I'm sad it didn't happen. But it was really when Root came on to bowl, and he was like, you know what? No, like you're not going to be polling your part-time off-spinner. Like I'm going to put him in the seats, and he did a couple of times. And then started getting more aggressive. But he played some wonderful shots.
Yeah.
Like as things, particularly as he got past, he reaches the 50 with this glorious uppercut that goes very straight, almost over Bairstow. Then that straight drive that he played just to the offside of straight, where he just gets the front leg out of the way a little bit, but so crisply through the ball. And then one shot particularly, it's almost a wide Yorker. It's not quite that full, but outside the off stump, and he just reaches for it, barely moves the bat, just places it there and squeezes it out through backward point for 4. It was perfectly timed. He played some wonderful strokes.
I was gutted that's the way he got out as well, because he played so well behind point, the uppercut, and it was very, very low on the bat too. Like he nearly got away with it. He was so late on the ball, but that'll happen
when you're a periscope.
All of that. It was the highest score for a number 9 at Lords in a Test match since Broad's 169 not out.
There you go.
Another one for you there. And their partnership, which...
And you know that things got better and better for him with the bats from there.
and the stand, it's the 5th time Ireland have had a 100-plus stand in Test cricket, and the 3rd of them for the 7th wicket.
Okay.
So I thought it was quite nice. So very 3 have involved the number 9.
Andy McBrine did his job at the other end, was quiet and industrious with the occasional big shot up until the point that he got to his 50. Then Adair gets out, and McBrine just chills out for a little while, and then he starts to up the ante a bit as he goes sort of from 50 up to about 80, and then things started to quiet down as a couple of wickets fell. And
well, he got to 50 with the reverse sweep, and I thought this might be a sign of what's to come. He's going to really put the foot down. And when he lost Adair, he didn't play with Hume. He didn't play the milking the strike game, which I anticipated. I thought, well,
he had Fee on hand for a bit before
quite
that.
Right, you did. But once hand went, he's down to effectively the number 11 because McCullum was never going to bat in a moon boot. It would have been interesting had he been on 98 or 99, whether they would have strapped the pads on and he would have hobbled out in the moon boot.
This is one small step for man.
Well, I would have loved to have seen it like Colin Cowdrey out here in '63. Anyway, but
if you're watching or listening to this before having heard Storytime, you will hear another story about someone coming down at number 11 to try to bat when they are very unfit to do so.
Maybe the best yet. So there's the Malcolm Marshall, there's the Colin Cowdrey, there's the Graham Smith, and then there's what Jeff does on Storytime 139. Listen to it; it'll be out in feeds on Sunday morning, first thing
Australian time.
Yeah. Tonight in the UK. So McBrine doesn't play that game. Then Hume plays 2 reverse sweeps that go for 4. I think that might have been off route as well, possibly. So that took them into the lead.
What was Handy played though? Hume played the swishes outside the off stump.
I might be
conflating your two.
I might be confused.
The boundaries at Hume's the left-hander,
he played the reverse, didn't he?
And he drives him. He throws the bat and gets a thick edge a couple of times.
The football had started by then. I was a bit distracted, but you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. There was moments there.
Hume takes them past the England deficit. It takes them out of the deficit into the lead with those 2 boundaries, or with the second of those 2 boundaries, where he plays square on the offside after having been very defensive up until that point.
2 in a row, wasn't it?
He's like, you know what, bugger it. I'm just going to throw the bat at a couple, and it worked.
So it made them bat again, and they did the extended tee thing, and everyone was probably the loudest cheer of the day was when they went into the lead.
Of course, it was.
It was a good moment. I think
it was a standing ovation.
I reckon people, and again, this is not so much for today, but just on my observations of the crowd, there's a lot of goodwill towards Ireland from cricket fans because they realise the story's a belter, and they probably have picked up on the fact that something's not quite right. How could have the gap grown between the sides, or how could have Ireland receded since 2019 when they did so well, especially with the ball at this ground? So, yeah, I reckon that there is a sense that today's an important a line drawn underneath what happened on the first couple of days, at least as far as the crowd were concerned. And England only had to make 11 runs and got there in 4 balls because Crawley was able to. I mean, Adair would have been knackered. Gave him a half tracker, and and that was that.
That might segue into the final word, Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is where we choose the most final word moments of the day, the things that please us the most. It's brought to you by us, by Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. Keep your eyes open for a bargain.
They can go and play. They've got time tomorrow. Ollie Pope was asked after play, what are you going to do tomorrow? Guess what they're doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Playing golf.
Golf. Oh, wow.
They can get down to the Putt Shack. That's at Stratfield, London, which is the one over in the west of town and on the other end of the central line. And if that's what you love, if you love your golf or if you love your cricket, the Sixers bar, which we're going to be, I don't expect they'll end up at Sixers having wrapped up. If they had a choice between golf and cricket, they're going to pick golf, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But they'll have loads of options out there, as they would if they went to the Stratford City Westfield, westfield.com/United-Kingdom, Westfield, London and Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary, and we'll have far more to tell you about them next week at the World Test Championship final and the 5 Ashes Test after that. 6 indeed, because we'll be doing daily shows from Nottingham for the Women's Ashes Test in June.
I think it's Hall of Fame worthy what you were just talking about, the cheer, the standing ovation when they went into the lead, and just the feeling of warmth around the ground. It felt good. It felt like an embrace. It felt different because yesterday it was like you could tell that people were a bit embarrassed. You don't want to see a team or an athlete be humiliated. Everyone's kind of going, oh, we didn't really see that. We weren't watching. It's fine. We were in the bar.
Yeah.
And today felt like a big hug.
Yeah, it did. I've got a Stokes one. He tried to wear his bucket hat up to the presentation, and Danny Rubin, the media manager, does a great job with that team, the best in the business, made him take it off, and he had to borrow Joe Root's England cap to do the presentation. I've got 2 more things written out. Andrew Leonard, the great commentator of associate cricket, got so much time for his brilliant work. Used to work at the ICC, used to work at Cricket Island, actually, very proud Irishman. He took a catch on the second deck of the stand after one of the sixes. He caught it, pouched it, raised it in the air and took a bow. So, Andrew, if you're listening, well done to you. That was a lovely moment.
And Andrew Leonard, human torpedo.
and I want to a little shout out to Faith, who's an MCC steward over in front of the Grace Gates, who tapped me on the shoulder and said, thanks so much for what you do on the program, because she can't watch any of the cricket because she's stuck stewarding all day long and listens to the Daily to catch up. So hi to you, Faith.
Stewarding in her own juices. Now, my last one was Andy McBrine. I just had a little moment. I like playing around with words and things. And the Mc, when you have Mc in a name, it means generally refers to the son of. It's the family lineage. And so I just realised McBrine. McBrine is a son of the sea, a son of the ocean. He could have walked out of the saltwater fully formed and straight into the Irish cricket team and out here and made 86 not out. What a performance it was, standing up to England and saying, well, okay, you might have tailed us up yesterday, but you're not going to have everything your own way.
And he can always say, I ran out of partners. It wasn't my fault. I had red ink at the end. That's it from us. Thank you to Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary. More on them next week. More from us next week. We've got the weekly show coming out. We're going to record it tomorrow. We're playing cricket together tomorrow for the Oval Dream Boys Australian side, and we'll record the weekly there. We've got story time in the feed tonight. We'll have a preview coming with Barat and me from the Oval day before the World Test Championship final. And so it goes, and so it goes, and so it goes, because we can't stop and we won't stop. This is the final word daily. Adam Collins, Jeff Lemon. We will catch you regularly. Bye.
All the time. See you.